Have you ever wondered what happened for the world of Black Desert to be in the state it is currently? Where the ruins we see everywhere come from? The rise and fall of nations? Why does each race live where they do now? The main quests tend to focus on recent history, events from the last few decades. But to learn what happened long ago, you need to dig through knowledge entries, journals, random dialogue, item texts, and even search for out-of-game sources. This video shows an overall chronological timeline of events in the world of Black Desert. Described events happened in two worlds, Black Desert and Elvia. Those for Elvia are indicated by a green E. All dates are in the Elionian calendar. Dates with an asterisk are approximations, however. For ancient events, this approximation may be wildly inaccurate, sadly, with a margin of error of hundreds or even thousands of years. Now, let's begin. There once was a world called Elvia, a world of ancient spirits who followed the goddess Sylvia. The goddess herself was there as an imposing tree of light. In that land lived the Luthragons, son of Sylvia and wardens of the earth. One day, the god of scorching light, Gordiide, and its human magic-wielding followers rained destruction upon them and took over Elvia. Sylvia's body melted down under the radiance of their power, and the goddess turned into a Kamasilf seed to flee the world together with most of her supporters. The Luthragon were left behind in Elvia to fight Gordiide and to protect the world of the goddess. Sylvia and her entourage of spirits later arrived in Black Desert's world, the world of black sand, mysterious beings slumbering beneath its surface, and a Kamasilf tree took root. We are told that from this moment onward, Elvia and Black Desert's world became connected. At some point after Sylvia's arrival, the all-female Ganel and Vidir elves were born, and they lived in the lands later known as Kamasilvia, protected by the spirits from the goddess's new sacred tree. Thousands of years later, the original Tree of Light of Elvia ceased to be for good, and the connection between two worlds was lost. Wanting to restore the connection to the goddess, the Luthragon searched for the Seed of Light, a sapling they thought to be left behind by the goddess. When they finally found the golden seed, they planted it to raise a new sacred tree for the goddess. However, when the tree grew, its leaves were black, unlike the original Tree of Light, and it did not establish a connection to the world the goddess dwelt in. A voice echoed from the new sacred tree. It told the elves that she was the goddess of resurrection, whose voice had disappeared from the world thousands of years ago, and whose name had been forgotten. Then it gave the Luthragon two tasks: to make the god of depravity submit, and after that was accomplished, to shout out her name once the new sun, not the old, rose to the sky. The elves followed her instructions and made a new, black sun rise. Then the name of the deity was proclaimed from the sacred tree.
Hadum Vura Kaeliak.
As the name echoed throughout the world, the black sun swallowed the Son of Light, and Hadum defeated Gordiide, dethroning it as the new god of Elvia. The fallen god had its name erased and was forced to flee the world Sylvia had done before. However, he did so by hiding himself inside of a black star. The Luthragon realized they had been deceived, but it was too late. Many of them succumbed to madness from the new god's voice. The survivors rallied beneath the roots of their old, abandoned mother, the dead original Tree of Light, and vowed to resist her doom to the end. It was then they discovered a faint light under the deepest roots, the last branch of the goddess. The Lutheragon then built the fortress city of Aduir around this last branch, and for thousands of years would nurture that branch as the last hope, to never allow her doom to cross over to the other world. Roughly minus 8000 EC. Kabun calendar year 237 to 286. Back in Black Desert's world, around 8,000 years ago, human civilization prospered, blessed by abundance. From what sources we have, this appears to be the Astron Empire. An eccentric inventor claimed the world would end in 49 years when a meteor full of red-eyed dark invaders would fall. But he was imprisoned for inciting the masses and promising them their salvation. The man's name was Rux Mahadekya. Shortly after he escaped from prison, he dedicated his life to the construction of a so-called Fortress of Salvation, Ataraxion. To combat his aging body, he devised a method to reconstruct his body the moment the invasion would begin. That said, this method had a steep price: his own life. Due to several factors, however, his plan did not work out as expected. 49 years later, the Black Spirit invasion began, and the world went mad. However, a certain group of people stole technology from Ataraxion and saved the world. These individuals would end up being called the Idana, seemingly being unaging and with wisdom and power beyond comprehension. The dark-eyed thread was sealed underground in light stones, and civilization was rebuilt. What ensued was an era of peace and prosperity under the guidance of the Idana. However, this wouldn't last forever, as the Idana, while never aging, couldn't live forever either, and once they disappeared, no more Idana would emerge to guide the rest of humanity. Soon after, greed overtook the world again, and with it, there was a loss of prosperity and knowledge. Roughly minus 4000 EC. Roughly 4000 years ago, Labreska, a gargantuan dragon and the scourge of all dragonkind, ruled over its skin from the Golden Mountain, the heart of the continent. The primitive human tribes from the region came to worship this dragon as a god. At some point, Labreska obtained and ate a holy flame, Yenix, a flame said to be able to kill even gods, and shared in oral tradition to have been created by the gods to kill Kazaka. With this newfound power, Labreska attempted to challenge the gods themselves. The gods retaliated. They tore out her wings, legs, and arms, leaving her to die in agony. As further punishment, they cursed the Golden Mountain to be forever coated in snow and ice. With time, the peak's name would change to that of the Mountain of Eternal Winter. The death of the dragon caused the birth of the 7 witches, extremely powerful beings, each with supernatural powers capable of subjugating dragonkind. However, after her first death, Labreska came back to life. Wingless, limbless, and encroached by a black spirit, she remained barely alive, confined within the haven of slumbering origin in the heart of the mountain, where the only thing protecting her from the corruption of the black spirit was the warmth of the Phoenix inside of her. Over the centuries, several human tribes would each come to worship one of the witches, and they came to be known as the 7 tribes of Everfrost. According to tradition, around this time in the far-off lands of the east, the dark Pongtuang reigned calamity over humanity. One day, a man by the name of Dango appeared and defeated the beast. He became the first king of a nation called the Land of the Morning Light, and is said to have ascended as a mountain deity king. Note, however, that several of these last few events may have happened after what is described now. Roughly minus 1200 EC, roughly 1500 years ago, in the southwestern reaches of the continent, people of Ozekia thrived. They worshipped the divine tree, Uteron, and its associated goddess, known as both the Thornwood goddess and the Dark goddess. In the present, the Ahib elves consider this to be goddess Sylvia. After an incident in which a servant of Adum attempted to open the way for the god of darkness to encroach on Black Desert's world, Ozekia created the god of hope, Kazaka, born from the divine tree. It was then that the kingdom of Ozeka came to be, and they hid and destroyed records of their past. With the knowledge and power of Kazaka, Ozeka hid themselves from Adum's watchful gaze. The nation then prospered in a golden age that lasted 1,000 years. Thornwood goddess and its tree were forgotten, and Kazaka became the only god worshipped by the Ozekan people. However, this god of hope unconditionally granted all manner of wishes, and the nation slowly became consumed by the greed of its people. Roughly minus 1000 EC, back in the Mountain of Eternal Winter, the last of the 7 witches fell in love with a human, and for this, the other 6 witches murdered her. The human tribes below the mountain, now without the power to not fear dragonkind, considered the loss of the witch's blessing a curse from the remaining 6 witches, and the witch's lover decided to search for a way to undo it. Silverfront, as he was called, arrived in Ozeka and petitioned the god of hope to undo the curse. But the god claimed that needed the Phoenix to fulfill his wish, and that the flame was in the mountain where Labreska had long ago resided. Silverfront went back and found Labreska alive, even if only barely, with the Phoenix within her. Instead of trying to steal the flame, he fell in love with the dragon, however, and remained at her side.